Nobody wants electric cars, they say. They're annoying, expensive, inconvenient, and they devalue enormously. So why is everyone buying these? Let me put some numbers on that. So Q2 2025, Polestar retail sales up 36%. Q1 2025, guess how much? 76% up. And this is at a time when nobody has any money. We can barely afford to eat. And last month alone, we lost 2,236 companies. So what's going on? There's an excitement about this car. If you go on the internet, people will say, I've ordered my Polestar, I'm very excited. And I haven't seen that for years. There is a buzz about it. It's a toy. It's a toy that gets you from A to B. And it's interesting because it needs to be three things. It needs to look like it's cost a lot of money for you to get excited. It needs to perform like it costs a lot of money for you to get excited. And it needs to have enough to keep you from getting bored after 4 years. And this does tick pretty much all of those boxes. Two things I like. This is the non-leather version, and also the shape of the seat overall is good. To make it worth your while staying here, I'll test the battery efficiency in this on an honest, real-world road trip, uncover a possible hack that makes this car super cheap, and question if this is the car that BMW and Audi might be very nervous about, because cars like this don't come around very often. It's not an advert though, and so there have been some issues, namely, for example, one of them is the speed limit. So now it's saying it's a 10 along here because I've just pulled out of a little road that was a 10. So the speed limit on the head-up display, sometimes that takes a while to catch up. What other problems have I had? Oh yes, I've had a problem where 1 minute I was listening to a podcast and the next minute it went on to Greatest Hits Radio. 1 minute I'm on Joe Rogan, the next minute I'm doing Popmaster questions. Forgot to mention this last time. When you go and sit in it, you know, in the shopping centres, where you go, like where John Lewis is, you see the Polestar place. You think, well, how am I going to get that fan on my face? Simple. Didn't show you in the review, but here's how you do it. You move your finger on these and you get these beautiful bits of animation, and that is great. And something else I did mention before, when you do like a 3-point turn or you put the indicator on, you get this beautiful camera, right? But if you look at that, if I open the window, it knows the window's open. Let me do it with the back window. Look at that. It's all very well having futuristic tech, but if you can't afford the car, or it won't go very far, or it's riddled with glitches, then it starts to feel a bit pointless. Except none of those things are true here. And that's where it gets interesting. The thing about these early bugs is that nobody really seems to care. It's not enough to put people off. Some cars, well, particularly not this. Let's do a quiz to illustrate my point. Ready? Question 1. Can you think of a car brand that has done something that was not popular with audiences, maybe recently, and went viral for the wrong reasons? Question 2. Can you think of a car brand that is known for being expensive to insure and extremely easy to steal? Although actually that one's changed. Can you think of a car brand that misled people about something relatively important and it cost them 30 billion euros? Can we just talk about the smell for a minute? Have you noticed Polestar's got a lovely smell about them, haven't they? Is this what they call sensory UX? Like, is there a department, someone at Polestar who is head, who's like chief sniffer? It's a nice smell. Anyway, back to what's going on. You could say that one of the reasons for their enormous success might be one pedal drive, which we talk about a lot until I get bored of talking about it. For example, it will save 5,000 decisions from your mind when you're driving along because it is so much easier. But that can't be it because, well, loads of cars do one pedal drive. Tesla's one pedal drive is brilliant. All electric cars do one pedal drive. So it can't be that. It has to be something else. Stereo has to be good, the UI is important, and the overall environment has to feel right. It has to give you something. It has to make you feel one of two things. Either A, very relaxed and special, or 2, generally excited. And I think this does both, but in a different way. I was thinking today, maybe, you know, like a 5 Series customer, 550i, 540, or an Audi S5 customer, probably love this, but for a different reason. Excited in a different way. Polestar now have a thing called Plug and Charge. It's 30% off your charging, 6 major networks, 15 countries, you get a card and there's no paying. It's all done for you. Clever, isn't it? Very familiar though, isn't it? But you won't be able to make any of those silly calls. Hello, yeah, I've plugged it in. Yeah, no, it's not charging, it's not, I can't. Actually, let's have a look and see what we're getting now. So this is saying 64% and the range is 204 miles, which means at 100% this would be 313. How does that sit with you? I have had one of these before and it did seem to be further than that. I think someone's been ragging this.
Let's find out. Quick journey test, which starts at 162 miles and 54%. That's how you make a coffee, by the way. None of this watery business, please. Expensive. Journey is 75 miles. It says I'll have 28% on arrival. And there's only a handful of EVs I'd even bother to try and do a journey like this, starting with 54%. You know how it is. And at the end of the journey, there is a surprise. An actual gain of 7%, which scales to a real-world range of nearly 400 miles.
Beyond all the numbers and the technical specs, there is something different about Polestar which we will circle back to. But before we do that, let's talk about money, because there is an interesting deal at the moment which is 0% finance. It makes one of these £499 a month. Interestingly as well, if you have a business lease is 5,000 in, 439 a month. Now I made a calculation that actually isn't 439 a month, because if you run a business then and you business lease your car, then some of the payments go against your profits. So it actually works out at £323 a month for one of these. If you factor it all in. There'll be an accountant in the comments now, but it's interesting, isn't it?
It is. Or, in other words, it's me demonstrating our human and unique gift of bending the numbers of something until they fit the story we want to tell.
If you want the quietest Polestar, then I might go for the 3, because that is really quiet. However, well, there's 2 reasons I'd go for the 3. One, it's got the air suspension. This doesn't have air suspension, and what it means is when you get into areas like this, like an old village, it's a little bit too bumpy. When you're on a motorway, it's almost perfect, but like I'm going to go over some bumps now, it's a little bit, you know, like a sports car. But I guess that's what it is. But I also think that against having a 3, this fits into your life a little bit better. I thought I'm not going to like that because I love SUVs, I love the high up, I love the presence of them. And then I got in this and I thought, nah, it just slots way better into my life. Back to this not being an advert thing again for the 2% of people who think that they are. EV6, that's from Kia, that has now a very good offer, which causes a problem right now for Polestar. Different market, different car, but it is quite good. Number 2, Harman Kardon in this is very good. It's very wide. I like it. I'm going to give it an 8, but I have heard Harman Kardon a 9 or a 10. Oh, and something else. I did have a few problems with the early ones with charging. Nothing major. You just press the button in there. Hello, can you come out? And then they come out and make you tea and that.
If you work at a place that's encouraging you to go electric for your company car, first of all, congratulations for still having a job. And secondly, if my employer was offering me one of these, I'd probably take their arms off like a lion. Nothing says I'm doing okay at work than with a Polestar. And that's before we talk about how good it looks.
2 things I want to address, which I'd like to apologise for as well, because somebody did quite rightly point out that I'm so lazy that I didn't even press that button to turn that from a digital mirror into an actual mirror. And the other thing that somebody said, which is interesting, is that if you wear glasses and they're varifocals, if you're looking up through this part of the lens, it's difficult to see. I would agree with that to a point, but there's 2 things here. First of all, if you've got cheap lenses, there's more distortion at the top. You've got expensive lenses, Essilor, then you can actually see more. Something else as well about the head-up display, if someone tells you to wear sunnies and get the polarized lenses, don't, because you can't see head-up displays with polarized sunglass lenses. Ridiculous. You have to drive like this.
Here's the thing. With Polestar, you're not getting an electric car. You're getting a Polestar. It's a bit like Tesla. You're not getting an electric car. You are, but it's a Tesla, isn't it? It's part of an ecosystem, not an offshoot. Instead, rather a premium thing that's one of a kind. And you could say that it's also the most original and bright car design idea since maybe something like the BMW 5 Series.
Here's a question. In a world that feels a little bit broken and there's not so much optimism around, I'm wondering whether or not the reason why Polestar is so successful is that perhaps built into their ethos is some of that positivity. In other words, they're saying, it's all right, we're just going to carry on, it will all be okay. There's something else too. Some of the other cars that we all used to love and really get passionate about, the passion seems to be dwindling because there's corners being cut, there's budgets, and there's all sorts of weird political things going on where these cars are not the same anymore, and that's sad. You don't feel like they care so much, but when you get in a Polestar, you feel like they do. I wonder if it is just as simple as that.